Elliot sat alone in his small apartment, the weight of his thoughts pressing down on him. The clock on the wall ticked in the background, but time felt irrelevant. He had just lost his job the second time in 6 months, and it felt like the world was closing in. His hands clenched as he replayed every moment of the interview in his mind. Why did I say that? I should have said this instead. The constant cycle of self-blame was all too familiar. Every mistake, every misstep felt like it defined him, like it was proof that he wasn't good enough. He couldn't stop thinking about the things he should have done differently. His mind raced and his chest tightened, but the more he blamed himself, the heavier the burden became. Elliot knew something had to change, but he didn't know how. All he could do was sit there, consumed by guilt. The days that followed were a blur of worry and self-doubt. Elliot tried to shake the feeling off, to move forward, but it was as if his mind was caught in an endless loop. Every new opportunity felt tainted by past failures. When a friend invited him to a gathering, he reluctantly agreed, hoping some social interaction would ease the weight he carried. But even there, it was the same. He kept replaying his failures in his head, measuring himself against others. They've got it all figured out, he thought. I'll never be as successful as them. The anxiety choked him, suffocating any attempt to enjoy the moment. He left early, telling himself he didn't belong. At home, he sat alone again, the darkness of his thoughts swallowing him whole. No matter how hard he tried to fight it, the feeling of inadequacy clung to him, a constant reminder of his perceived failures. Was this the life he was destined to live? The questions spiraled, and he didn't know how to break free. One afternoon, when the weight of his thoughts felt unbearable, Elliot decided to take a walk in the park. As he walked through the bustling streets, he caught sight of an elderly man sitting alone on a bench, observing the world with a calm smile. Something about the man's serenity struck him. He sat down beside him, unsure of what to say. The man looked at him and simply said, "It's all right to not have everything figured out. Sometimes the most important step is to just be asterisk." Elliot hesitated, wondering how this stranger could offer such wisdom with so little spoken. "I spend so much time thinking I've failed," Elliot admitted. "I just don't know how to stop it." The old man chuckled softly. "You think too much about the things you can't control. Instead, focus on what you can. The rest will follow." As the words settled in, Elliot realized he had never stopped to think that maybe he didn't need to have everything figured out. Maybe it was okay to be in the process of figuring things out. If this resonates with you, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you can keep discovering the wisdom that helps you navigate life's challenges. The next day, the elderly man handed Elliot a small stone as they sat together again on the park bench. "This stone is your anchor," he said. "Whenever your thoughts begin to spiral and overwhelm you, hold it. Feel its weight. Let it remind you that you are here, now, and that everything else is just noise." Elliot was skeptical, but he took the stone. The first time he tried it, the worry didn't vanish. But something inside him shifted. The moment he grasped the stone, he became aware of the sensation, the coolness, the texture, the steady pressure it created in his palm. He breathed deeply, focusing on the stone. It wasn't magic, but it was enough to pull him into the present. The thoughts didn't disappear, but for the first time, he was able to step back and observe them. "This is only temporary," he whispered to himself. "I can let it pass." Days passed, and with each moment, Elliot used the stone. He found himself more present in the simple moments of his day. The warmth of the sun on his skin, the taste of his morning coffee, the sound of laughter from children in the park. It wasn't that life became perfect, but something inside him shifted. The overwhelming weight of worry became lighter. The stone didn't solve his problems, but it gave him a new perspective. He started to see that the real problem wasn't his mistakes, but the story he had told himself about them. He had believed that his failures defined him, that his mistakes were a measure of his worth. But the more he practiced with the stone, the more he realized that his worth wasn't defined by his failures, but by his willingness to learn, to grow, and to move forward. The stone had shown him that peace came from letting go, not from fixing everything. One evening, as Elliot sat by the river, he held the stone in his hand, feeling its smooth surface against his skin. The sun was setting, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. He watched the water flow, knowing it was constantly moving, never the same twice. My mind is like this river, he thought, constantly flowing, never stopping, always changing. But unlike the river, his thoughts had no flow. They were stagnant, stuck in a loop of negativity. He gripped the stone tighter and focused on the water's movement. Slowly, he began to understand. Just as the river's flow couldn't be controlled, neither could his thoughts. But he didn't need to control them. He only needed to let them pass, just like the river's current, moving freely without resistance. In that moment, Elliot realized that peace wasn't about controlling his mind. It was about letting his thoughts flow, observing them without judgment. The next morning, Elliot woke up with a new sense of clarity. He didn't have it all figured out yet, but for the first time in months, he felt something shift within him. The stone was still with him, but now it felt like a simple reminder. It wasn't about the stone anymore. It was about what the stone represented: presence, awareness, and letting go. Elliot walked to the park, noticing the little things around him, the way the light played on the leaves, the sound of birds in the distance, the simple act of breathing in fresh air. He didn't feel rushed. He didn't feel burdened by the weight of expectations or guilt. He understood that life wasn't a race, and he didn't have to be ahead of anyone. The only race was against himself, against the old stories he had told himself about his failures. He finally realized that the key to peace wasn't in running from his past, but in accepting it and choosing to move forward.